Hello and welcome. Our guest today is Miss Komathy Veerasingham. Welcome, Miss Komathy. Now, Miss Komathy Veerasingham is a chemistry teacher with the Ave Maria Convent Secondary School in Ipoh, Malaysia. And recently, she was awarded the Global Teacher Award 2021 by AKS Education for her outstanding contribution in the teaching of chemistry in an innovation. I'd like to welcome her. Ms. Kumati, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Congratulations first on winning the award. Now, how do you feel about winning this prestigious award?
Okay, good morning, Prof, and good morning, everyone. I'm Komathy Veerasingham. As what Prof have said, I'm a Guru Chamalang Kimya, teaching currently at SMK Ave Maria Convent. I'm been teaching this subject for past 14 years in the secondary school of Malaysia, and I feel it's really a great honor and pleasure of receiving this prestigious award. And I'm really glad, and I would like to thank God for this blessing.
Okay, you've been a teacher for quite more, nearly one and a half, 15, nearly 14 for 15 years. What inspired you to become a teacher?
Okay, when we talk about inspiration, so it actually started from my childhood, where since small, I'm quite interested with science and math subject, which have leads me to be a STEM related career in the STEM related career right now as a chemistry teacher. And beside that, the great inspiration I got it to be here as a awardee of Global Teacher Award is my students because when they was my great inspiration when I found they are having some difficulties in learning, particularly in this subject of chemistry. That's where makes me to go extra mile to help them out, and that's why I come out with all sort of innovations which really helps them in aiding them of learning the chemistry in a fun way. And I think my students is a great inspiration for me.
Great. Now, coming straight to to the award you were given, what specifically were the products which you innovated and you made it possible for the teaching of chemistry, fun and inspiring students to learn chemistry? What are the products that you were awarded for?
Okay. Regarding my innovations, I work it in two ways. One is I've done innovation to aid teaching and learning in the classroom. Another category of my innovation is on the application of the concept which the students have learned in the classroom in solving daily life problems. So when we talk about the eight the innovations I come out for teaching and learning in the classroom, so far I've invented three innovations to help teaching and learning. Firstly, I've invented Camp Esther Kit. This Camp Esther Kit I invented for aiding the students learning for particularly on the subject of carbon compound, on the chapter of carbon compounds, because as all of us are aware, carbon compounds is really how to say tedious subject for many students. They find it is because of overwhelming with chemical formulas, drawing the structural formula and writing the name of the compounds, and always students will get discouraged of learning these topics. So hence I come up with an innovative idea. I invented a game board with a different type of colorful cards to aid them on the understanding of restructuring. Actually, I'm doing a restructuring of the idea of what is structural formula, what is molecular formula, and how's the naming of the compound to be given. And usually in the traditional classroom, what the teacher will do is they will say alkane, this is the general formula of alkane, and this is the functional group, alcohol, and so on. They just introduce to the students just like that, and it's very abstract students can't understand. They can't, their understanding become very blur, because they can't see it. So I would like to bring something concrete to the classroom where the students able to hands-on by themselves, and from there they generate the general formula for the alcohol, carboxylic acid, and ester. So that was my first innovation. Secondly, I did on chem atom kit. Chem atom kit I invented for the topic of structure of atoms, because many students having confusion on what is proton number, what is nucleon number, how to write the electron arrangement, and they unable to relate the electron arrangement to the position of the elements in the periodic table. So what I did is I come up with a modeling system where students will construct the model of the respective atoms given to them, and from the modeling they will generate they will write in their proton number, they write in their nucleon number, and upon that they will draw the electronic structure by themselves by referring to the model they have constructed, and with that they're able to determine the position of the element in the periodic table. So when they do this, is they are able to see the interconnection. They're able to connect whatever lessons had been conducted. They're able to connect it. And at the end of the day, they have a very strong foundation of the understanding on the periodic table. And thirdly, I invented a came maze kit. Actually, came maze kit is a kind of maze I invented, and particularly I invented this maze to enhance my students' understanding on the calculation on mole concept. Because I found that my students, if I give them a 20 questions of calculation to do, they will get discouraged and they not move at all. Sometimes they bring back the empty book back to the classroom without doing it. And a simple reason they will give me, teacher, it's very tough. I can't do it. I don't know. Without initiating it. So that's where it was a kind of initiative I've taken. How can I solve this problem? So I tried to make it in a fun way. I invented a maze where they're able to play it with their peers and they're able to solve it together. So in that case, all the weak students able to get the aid from the those who are good students. They're able to help each other. So there's a
Yeah,
mentor mentee play, role play had been played here.
I see you also used quite a bit of videos, is it? Video clips.
Yes, all this innovation which I implemented, I also make it as a self-learning kit where the students able to do it as an enrichment program at home.
How did you come up with this idea? What was the background behind the theoretical basis for this? How did you get the idea for these three types of kits for
Okay,
teaching
first
and
thing, I
learning?
will do a self reflection upon my teaching and learning in the classroom. And I will identify what's the obstacles and what's the problem faced by the students. And then I do some reading on journals and previous researches has been conducted on the relevant area. And from there, I generate my idea. How can I solve my problem in the classroom with my students?
So you were actually using design thinking, is it?
Yeah, yes. Actually, I think the first phase of design thinking, which is empathy. I carry empathy along with me in my classroom. I try to empathize each and every child's need in my classroom. And I tailor my lesson according to the need of my students.
So
Because
you
not all students are the same. They are varied in the way of their learning. As we know, some are visual, some are audiostic, and some are like to do hands-on activities. From there only they can learn. So I would like to cater for four different type of learning attitude of the students, and I embed with differentiation learning as well in my classroom.
what changes did you see in your students after using these three innovative products? What kind of changes you saw?
Okay, first thing, my student got interested with the subject. As we know that anything we like to do, we fall in love with, we will do the excellent level. So that was my first, how to say, first way of tackling my students. I would like to generate their interest towards the subject by integrating this type of fun learning in my classroom. So I don't want them to come out with my class with a stressful mindset. They say chemistry, oh. I don't want them to come to my classroom with a sad face, with a stressful mind. So I want them to look forward for my classroom. So that's where I like to inspire them with this type of fun way of learning chemistry. I want to bring the mentality that chemistry is not difficult. Chemistry is fun to learn. Chemistry is easy to understand. So that is what really leads me to all these innovations.
And even the weak students were very inspired to learn, the weak students.
Yes, doctor. Yes, Prof. They actually the weak student. The feedback I got from my weak students, they told me that, teacher, other subjects I find difficult to learn, but I able to score my chemistry.
Mm,
Upon getting their SPM result, I can see the SPM result, the excellent result they'll get it from my subject,
mm.
comparable to other subjects. So from there, I can see the impact of my teaching and learning in the classroom to the students.
Okay. And you can see this concept or these ideas being transferred to other science disciplines like chemistry, sorry, like physics and biology, or even mathematics. Do you see that?
Yeah, as a teacher, I have done my sharing with other colleagues in my school. And some of them have, I coach them also, I being mentoring them on this type of practices in the classroom. So
Okay.
now there are few of them are following it, and they have given me a positive feedback upon it.
Great, that's great. But besides that, you have also worked on some innovations on sustainability, on the environment. Can you
Uh,
explain, can you tell a little bit about some of the things you have done in this direction?
Sure, Prof. Okay. Just now I explained to you about the innovation in the teaching and learning which I've conducted. So now another area of my innovation focusing on the application of the concept on solving the real life problems. And I focus mostly on sustainable development for environment. How can we create a sustainable environment? I go on based on go green concept. So from that, I myself with a few students, we have brainstormed and we have come up with a few products of innovation. Our first innovation was a BAC biofilter, where we have generated activated carbon from a biomass um, biomass from agricultural waste. Namely, in context of Malaysia, we know that sugarcane bagasse, coconut husk, and banana peel are widely had been wasted and abundantly available. So what we do is we trying to create something from the waste to the usefulness. So we convert this waste into a biomass activated carbon. And from there, we have done a few studies of the usage of this BAC. So we have used this BAC in inventing a filter to remove a dye from industrial textile industries. Secondly, we have used this BAC also, substitute this BAC into our lithium batteries and try to find out the voltage created. So we want to reduce the pollution caused by these lithium batteries to the environment, and it was quite successful as well. And beside that, we know that plastic had been widely used and is being a main pollution to the environment also, and it's not biodegradable, right? So we try to integrate this VAC into a bioplastic, and we studied also how efficiently this bioplastic can be degradable and can solve the problems.
You're also
And
looking at biofuel, right?
yeah,
From waste
okay.
cooking
Yes,
oil. What is
that
that?
was our latest innovation we have conducted this year. That's on inventing biofuel. As we all aware, biofuel is already there. But what the novelty of our studies is, in production of a biofuel from the cooking waste cooking oil, we use a chemical which is called sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide is a chemical that had been used in trans-esterification process, and even we produce a biofuel from there. There's a certain impact of chemicals inside it to the environment. So we are impacting go green concept. So we substitute the sodium hydroxide with our BEC. We study the effectiveness of this biomass activated carbon in trans-esterification process in converting the waste cooking oil into a useful oil biofuel. and that
When
was
you
also
say,
a successful.
yeah, great. You said that you when you say we, you're working with your students, right? They are
Yes,
16
I
year.
work with my students.
These are
The-
16-year-olds students in your class, in your chemistry class, is it?
Yes, 16 and 17 years students were
Students.
involved in all this research. I
How's
go.
their reaction to it? How do the acceptance of these ideas?
Okay, initially how I go about with them is on brainstorming, and even in creation this type of research innovation also I implemented design thinking. So we go
Mhm.
on the first stage of empathy. I try to ask them to find out what's the problem had been faced in environmental base, and then from there I scaffold the ideas for them. I facilitate them, and I can see a big transition in my students, because what I can see is, apart being a chemistry teacher on delivering the content to my students in chemistry, it also able me to play an important role in instilling 21st century skills in my students, and also ethics and also values in my students, which I think
Okay.
is I'm very happy, and I'm very happy with this, what I've done
So
with my students.
so did for these thing you'll be doing it out of school time, is it? I'm
Yes,
sure it's not in
yeah,
your curriculum, right?
not
And
in
they're doing it
curriculum.
out of school, and the
Yeah,
students are very eager to even come to school outside school time, right?
yes, they are the one. I will say they are the one drive me off. Really, they will be asking me, teacher, when is our next meeting? What we going to do the next? They are really curious on this research innovations, and we got a very good support from our school admins. They are
Mhm.
very supportive as well. They provided with all the facilities required for our research in the lab, and there are parts we have to extend our research to higher education lab to do analysis and all that. So we able to get the aid from University Malaya to do our analysis on this research based.
Well, you're getting help from the universities in your work,
Yes,
right?
because there are certain analysis like SEM and FTRR. We have to, we can't do it in the school lab.
Hmm.
We need to go to our higher educations like universities to run the studies.
Do
So
you
from there,
have
I got.
like all this requires obviously requires money? How do you solve that problem? Your all the
We are having a
chemicals you're
good
using.
support of financial from our board of governors from our school, and also
Oh,
our school admin.
so the parents are coming in to help you,
Yes,
is
their
it?
parents are really collaborating well with us, and they are
Okay.
being a backbone of supporters for us for the
Hmm.
success of our innovations.
Are you in any way involving the community, the business community in Ipoh into your ideas?
Right now, I'm looking forward for collaboration with other industries, but right now I haven't got it yet. But through our program of design for change right now, because beside this application of knowledge of chemistry, lately due to this pandemic where everyone having the constraint of teaching and learning via online, I worked out with my girls. We have come out with two innovation on mobile learning.
Hmm.
So, and then this project we have put up for the submission for design for change program, and my girls have gone top five winners. So the feedback I received from this person, they say that they would like to collaborate with us to bring this mobile app to community.
When you say mobile learning, can you tell us a little bit more about what is it? What when you say mobile learning?
Actually, I and my students really start this with zero ideas.
Hmm.
Through this participation in mobile app inventing competitions, that's why we discovered together, we learned together, and we have used freely available sources to invent the mobile app. So we come up with two mobile apps. One is STEM Vibes, another one is STEM TikTok. The STEM Vibes, we focus on science and maths content for primary to secondary students. So in this app, the students were aided with all kind of notes, videos, and self-learning assessments.
Oh, interesting. So that means if a student goes now and downloads his app, he can learn on his own, is it? and
Yeah.
it's free, right?
Yes, it's
It's
free.
free. You can go onto Google Play or Apple Store and
This
download it.
apps is developed for Android
Android only. Okay, you do not.
because
And what?
the main idea why we invent this mobile app is because we found that in during this pandemic, everyone having problem with broadband and all that, right? They don't have internet coverage, but I can sure that no one living without a smartphone.
Smartphone, yeah.
Each child having a smartphone. So we come out to the context of how can we help this child to do a self-learning at home, beside relying on online teaching and so on, where how they can learn in their own space. So that's where we come up with the ideas of inventing STEM vibes. And STEM TikTok, what we did is also for science education for Form 1 to Form 3 students, and where we have integrated a fun learning over there. My students have developed their own games for the respective topics in Form 1 to Form 3 science.
So this was done with you and your students, right?
Yes,
Your
together
students all together.
during the pandemic, where everyone
Excellent.
was sitting at home.
How
So
is the
we are
response been to the app?
actually, these two apps had been officially launched by our schools for the usage of our school community by the teachers
Mhm.
and students. And we have gathered a data on the implementation of these apps. And we got a very positive, significant results on this usage of the app in aiding the
Excellent.
teachers in preparing their lessons and also for the students of the learning process.
Have you brought this concept of yours to the attention of the Ministry of
Uh,
Education?
no,
No, they're not seen this
they
app.
haven't. They haven't seen this.
Oh, anyway, hopefully they will through this interview they will come to know about this app. Yeah, you have done a lot of things besides teaching. So you have a combination of. I was just going to ask you about technology. There, you already have got the technology part using in digital technology. You have the app, and then you have the physical. Some of your innovations where students have hands-on experience with the thing. And yeah, I understand heard you say that even you brought in gamification, games and gamification into the teaching of mathematics. I think this is great what you have done, and I think you they've given the award to the right person because this is what we in education are most concerned about. Because let's put it that most of our teaching is really boring. It's all the time teacher talk, very little student says, very student teacher centered, very minimal student centered. Now you have an example. You have shown us that this is something you can do with very minimal resources in a school, and it can be done across other schools all over the country and across subjects. It doesn't have to be only science. It can be in economics, teaching history, geography, and so on and so forth. I think that concept should be. I think this is you're moving towards preparing people for the 21st century. Now, how do you see the future? Like in especially recently, it was announced that less students are interested in STEM, and there is a shortage of engineers and all that. How do you see, as a person with so much experience in teaching of science, how do you see the future of of science education in Malaysia?
Okay. Regarding STEM education in Malaysia, we found that most of the students are not interested with STEM because of the first reason cause is non-attractive teaching in the classroom.
Very
That is
good. Yes.
what cause our students to be lack of interest in STEM education. So I would like to propose here that for all the educators to take an extra effort, try to inspire, try to bring the instill the interest in the students, not only by lecturing. And our I think our role is not only delivering the content. I think delivering a content anyone can do it as long as they know the content. It's not necessary for a teacher to be there to teach. What makes a difference to a teacher to other person or content deliverer is where how we go along with our students and tackle their problems and solve ease their learning of the particular subject. So I think if everyone take the initiative to make learning easier for our students, and surely I think many of the students will get interested with STEM. And especially if you compare to other subjects, I think STEM is really a very beautiful, and we can do wonders with STEM education. And we, Malaysia, really require a higher workforce in STEM education. So,
Yeah.
yeah, what I would like to propose here is, and mostly when come to gender-wise, there'll be a very less involvement of females in STEM educations and STEM workforce. So right now, I'm in AMC, Eva Maria Convent, and fully are girls there. So there's another challenge I took this year because I was just transferred to this school. Then I would like to inspire more girls in STEM education, and within 8 months I'm being there, I brought up my girls in STEM related field. They are actively involved in various innovations, competitions, robotics, and they also come out with so many type of competition. I took them with me to take part. So what I would like to advice here is, don't be a teacher being ordinary of doing their duties, go to the classroom and deliver the lesson. Be an extraordinary, because we as a teacher, we are the change maker in our students. Because
Excellent. Excellent what
they,
you just said.
yeah,
Hmm.
we are the change maker. I always take it like this: our students are the clay, we are the potters, and we have to mold them. So how are we going to mold them is in our own practices.
I like that part you said about anybody can be a teacher. Actually, it's so very true. With the internet today and with a handphone, the whole chemistry you can get it on Google, right? Now,
Yes.
where does the teacher come in? How does the teacher inspire and make them excited about the content? So, content is no more an issue now. How does the teacher play with the content, excite the students? As you have done very rightfully bringing the thing. And I think what you mentioned about STEM is very true. And I think you have emphasized, you are moving, you are in the right track of moving your students to the 21st century, where you have emphasized the four C's of the 21st century: critical thinking, creative thinking. You have done that. And then there is the other C is collaboration. Your students are working in a group. The fact that they have come up with an app, and then the last one, communication. I think, can you elaborate a bit about how you have brought about, enhanced the communication skills of your student? And especially in our setting, our students are passive listeners all the time. The teacher talks for 40 minutes, they're very passively listening. We miss out on this particular development of this particular skill, communication. Can you tell us a little bit how you have done it with your students on the communication part?
Okay. Initially, my students were very passive. Hardly they opened their mouth. Even when we asked the questions, also very difficult to get the feedback from them. So that's why I told you, when I engage them in a fun way, in the games and all that, when they themselves feel enjoyable, indirectly they will speak, they will talk. That had been initiated them to communicate with their peers. And when they communicating with their peers, they get a self-confidence. We have to create a self-confidence in the students. Most of the students being passive because they have a very low self-esteem in them. They are very scared to open up. They are wondering what people will think about me. Am I telling the right thing? They will be very doubtful of themselves. So I think we have to impart the self-confidence in our students. Once they gain the self-confidence, indirectly they'll be very active in the classroom. And
Exactly.
yeah, so during these innovation practices, what I've seen is, when I took the students to competition where they have to present, they will be talk, they have to talk, they have to answer the questions that have been questioned to them. So from there I can see a very big transformation in my students. Those who are being very quiet, now they become very brave, very confidently they can deliver it, and now they're able to speak up to anyone at any place. So
Excellent.
I think
I
this
think
is
you're
one.
you're at the right track of preparing your students for the 21st century. I think it's the right track. Okay, the yeah, that's right. You mentioned a little bit about robotics in your school. Can you tell us a little bit about it? How what is happening in your school?
Okay, this year I'm being a teacher advisor for robotic club, and for me also this is a first experience, and for me I think it's nothing is impossible lah. We knowledge still can be learned, so I take that as a challenge. So I took with me four students with me for robotic competition had been organized by Science Corp, where they have to come out with a product by using microbit,
Mm.
Arduino, and also Scratch.
Scratch, huh?
So
You're using
yeah,
Scratch, huh? Scratch is
yes.
good.
So we have started up all this tree with zero knowledge. We learn during this pandemic. We learn with all the readily available sources, and my students able to come out with few projects
I
using
think
this Arduino
with Google and YouTube,
cubes.
nothing
Yeah,
is impossible to learn. I'm a firm believer in that. I think your
and
students are
also
learning a lot
yeah,
from that. Yeah, I
and
think we
also I got
appreciate.
a support from one of the doctor from UNITA,
Mhm.
Dr. Leong. He helped us out also. He collaborated with us, and with his guidance and his support, we able to come out with the projects. And
Excellent.
I think how to say teachers don't give up. Don't be afraid of taking challenges in your career, because if we ourselves unable to do it, then we can't think our students to perform it. We have to take it as a challenge and we learn. When we learn, as we learn, we also can guide our students. And nowadays students, they are very advanced. Actually my students are well versed in this knowledge of Scratch, microbit, and Arduino now compared to me. They start up with zero, but now they become a hero.
Yeah, exactly. Zero to hero. Anybody can
Yeah.
be. Yeah, I understand you're also working on your PhD. Can you tell us a little bit about what your area you're working on?
Okay, because whatever I practices, I find it is really being very effective. So I would like to propose this type of practices to other chemistry teachers. So right now I'm working out under the supervision from my supervisor, Dr. Bala Muralidhara from UPSI. Is guiding me on developing a framework of design thinking for creative teaching of chemistry. So our idea is we want to bring a creative teaching in chemistry classroom by using a design thinking.
Excellent. So you think your ideas can also transfer to other science subjects like engineering and chemistry, sorry, biology, physics, even
Of course.
mathematics in it? It can be
Yes.
applied.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Komathy. I think you are a fine example of of a model teacher who's moving the future Malaysians that we talk about it, but how many of us are moving those kids to the 21st century and equipping them and making them marketable uh, and I think innovation has to be the key for every student in the future to teach them how to innovate. And thank you very much for agreeing for this short interview. Thank you, and wishing you all the best. And let us know from our university, Asia E University, how we can work together, collaborate with you and your students, and then look at the future of education in Malaysia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof.